Hi guys, happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of Soulful Living with Megs. As always, it is so great to have you here back for a moment of connection with me. Hi, my beautiful friends. How are you doing today? I hope that you're feeling so good, so fulfilled. You had a fantastic weekend and that you're looking forward to a beautiful start of your week ahead. First of all, before we get into today's episode, it is so warm today, which I'm not complaining about. Sun is shining, it's gorgeous. But I have my windows open, so if you hear the crows or any sirens, I'm going to do my best to stop myself from speaking during that time. But of course, if you hear the birds in the background, that would be why. Just trying to get some airflow in here when there's no AC. I feel like you guys will feel me if you don't have AC. It's not the vibe a lot of the time. But anyway, hi. I hope that you're doing well. As I said before, I'm excited to jump into today's episode. I'm excited to give you a little bit of a recap of my past week. It has to do with what we're talking about today and why I wanted to discuss it. But before we get into today's video, what the heck? Eventually, it'll be a video. But before we get into today's episode, I wanted to let you guys know that I went to a festival called Kids Fest yesterday. And for those in the Vancouver area, you're probably familiar with it. It's in Kits Beach, and they have this weekend-long thing in August. Apparently, it's every year. I have no idea how this is the first summer I've heard about it, or why it's the first summer I've actually gone. I really don't know how I missed it. But anyway, they have like organized events. It's all free. All these sports that you play. Kids Beach actually has like great, they have a volleyball area or like a bunch of different beach volleyball courts. They have a couple basketball courts. They have a couple tennis courts. They have like so many different areas where you can have, free organized sports. And so they just set up all this stuff. People were playing beach volleyball. There were tournaments for that. There were ultimate frisbee tournaments, which were really cool. And then they had basketball tournaments. They even set up a skateboard ramp thing, and that was super cool to watch. They even had training on like swimming or something to do with like not drowning and stuff, which makes sense, I guess, if you're going in the ocean. But I think they demoed it in their saltwater like outdoor pool. Could be wrong about that. Didn't actually check that out, but the schedule said that they had breakdancing, which I unfortunately missed. My friends and I could not make it to that, but they had so many fun things. And then of course, like cute vendors. They had thrift stores come out to sell clothes. They had a bunch of different jewelry shops and like, the miscellaneous things that people are trying to sell. And it was really cool. And we accidentally stumbled upon it on Friday evening. We were supposed to go to Batch and the line was just way too long. But we realized that there was this event happening. And so, I'm watching the skateboards. They were still playing Ultimate Frisbee at the time. So we sat and watched that for a little bit. And it was just so cool to see that so many people were coming together to enjoy the outdoors and these activities. And on the Friday night, they even had a Lululemon like sunset yoga thing. There were hundreds of people, you guys, like all doing yoga. There was rows upon rows on the beach of people doing this yoga class. And I had kind of wished I heard about it earlier. I don't know that I would have wanted to do yoga. I don't mind it all of the time, but I don't know. But just the atmosphere in itself, I think would have been really cool to experience. And it seemed just very calm and peaceful. The sunset was obviously beautiful. Unfortunately, that is partly to do with the fact that we are dealing with some severe wildfires. And so the sunsets are quite gorgeous, but again, not a good thing that it's due to that. But the sunset was beautiful, and just it was so interesting to see that many people come together. It was quite beautiful. And anyway, and we ended up going to a restaurant in Kits. It was like this Italian restaurant, super super cute. If you guys are in the Vancouver area, you should check out Nook. I know they have different locations. I've just personally never been, and I loved it. It was a spur of the moment thing. Absolutely loved a little dinner. I love Italian. Oh, so, so good. But Shay and I went on Saturday together, and it was so nice to watch the different sports. There was a little beer garden too. We were playing cornhole. And then I ended up going in the ocean for a little bit, playing frisbee and just like swimming in the water. And it was just so nice to have that salt water. Hopefully, the water was okay and suitable for swimming. But it was just such a fun Saturday getting out in the sun. Again, a very spontaneous thing because we didn't realize that Kids Fest was a thing this weekend. So I'm really happy we stumbled upon it and were able to experience it and all of that. So I'm excited to sit here and talk to you today, as I always am, but I'm chatty Cathy today, my goodness. And just to recap you on the things and just share how grateful I am for being in that moment with my people. And yeah, and oh my gosh, I almost forgot at the end. Well, this was like we were walking to get coffee, and then we passed by a bunch of different vendors. There was like people selling clothes and stuff, and it wasn't necessarily organized through the festival, but it was just like people in the park like basically doing a yard sale. It was kind of like a garage sale but in a public park, and we met the coolest people. I'm not joking. I would so hang out with this group of individuals. They as individuals are extremely cool and I know have their own unique story. And I unfortunately didn't have time to ask about every single person individually, what they do and who they are, but I did connect with this woman named Eureka, which is just a beautiful name. My gosh, she was stunning, so sweet, down to earth. And they were selling their clothes and a bunch of different, accessories, bags, hats, shoes, whatever. They're all like basically moving. But it's this big friend group that, so down to earth, so diverse. They have opinions on the world, which I love because I just feel like intellectually when you can connect with people on that level, it makes it so different. And she was just so sweet to interact with and talk with. And we saw them, like I said, we were going to get coffee. So we passed by the stand accidentally. I bought this like purse from this guy. Oh, he was so cool. He was wearing like these longer jean shorts, very sparkly, like bold cowboy belt almost. And then these like sparkly silver cowboy boots. And he just had like a black tank on, I think, or it was brown or it was white. I'm not really sure. Regardless, it was such a cool outfit. He had this sick purse, which is very out of my comfort zone, but I know would look good if I was wearing like a very plain, simple outfit. I could kind of let the purse like speak for itself. Anyway, super cool people. And then we were leaving to go get food at the very end of the night, after we did our ocean swim and stuff. And then we see them again. They're still out there again trying to sell everything because they're moving soon. They got to go. And so her and I got to connect. We introduced each other. We got our Instagrams, found out where she was moving, what she does in the world. And it was just, oh my gosh, I love this about the summer in specific in Vancouver because I feel like people are more eager to get to know one another and connect. But just in general, as a society, I love meeting new people and getting to talk to one another and just like sharing kind exchanges back and forth. And it wasn't forced. It was just like such a cool thing to experience. And I want more of that. And I hope that for you too. And I hope that you guys experience meeting new people and getting to gain new perspectives because I think that's what it's all about. But loved that and honestly loved my Saturday and looking forward to getting into a day of meal prep and tidying the house, doing laundry, all of the things. As of recently, I've been breaking a few things in my house, which has bothered me a lot because even though they're just things, and of course, this doesn't equate to, when I was referring to my cousins who lost literally all of their things in their home due to a fire, I still strongly dislike breaking things, especially things that people buy for me, because I know the value of like your money. And maybe it was because I didn't have a lot of it growing up. And while my mom gave me the best life that she could, and I'm so grateful for her, it was hard being a single mom, raising somebody in dance and putting her through those experiences. Like, we didn't have a lot. And so I'm not used to, being able to buy myself a lot of things. So when I buy things, they hold meaning to me just because I didn't necessarily have that option as a kid. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. As of recently, around the house, I've been like shattering things. I shattered one of my favorite mugs ever, and my best friend got it for me in this like set. And so now I only have three, which annoys the heck out of me because I don't like having, the odd number of things. And also, you can't buy them individually. You have to buy the set of four. So, anyway, one day I'll get a new full set and it'll be fine. But anyway, I broke that. I broke another wine glass. I don't really drink wine, but I really like drinking different liquids out of my wine glasses. I love drinking sparkling water out of wine glasses or my coconut water. I just think that it amplifies my experience and I feel so fancy and I just honestly love it as a vessel to drink out of. But I freaking broke one the other day, which bothered me because it was pretty late at night. I needed to take a sip of water and then I shattered it. Of course I did. So it forced me to stay awake longer and but I've been breaking other things and it's just, I think it's the universe telling me to slow down as I'm speaking to you very quickly. Um, but it's hard for me in those moments to remind myself, okay, I need to take a step back and slow down. And I like hate that I'm forced to by breaking things, but I just want to remind you that sometimes the universe will give you signs, whether it is breaking things or it's other things before it gets to that point where it's like, hey, you need to relax. Or if you're constantly running into things, which is what I do literally all the time, probably an ADHD thing, but the universe always gives you signs for things that, are a little bit greater than us. That being said, like, try to listen to those signs as much as you can. I'm doing my best to, especially when I'm physically forced to, like when I run into things, when I break things, I literally have to stop and pause to clean it up. So again, it's just a reminder that, hey, we need to kind of reset, relax, slow down in this process. Not everything needs to be rushed. Not everything needs to be chaotic in your mind. And even though I think a lot of us are used to some chaos, the peace and the tranquility I honestly feel, while it may be like abnormal to experience at first, like will definitely help us in our longevity. Like, obviously, stress and undergoing that constant go, go, go mentality is not good for our bodies. It's not good for our minds. We know all of this, but yeah, it's just a good reminder to slow down, to allow your brain to rest, reflect. Not everything is urgent. And I must have talked about this before, but I used to see all those videos on Instagram before where it was like people who, yeah, I for sure talked about this, but people were in go, go, go mode, like even washing dishes or putting laundry in the washing machine and doing it very quickly and then forcing themselves to slow down to say, this is not an emergency. And it's really not. And I think it's hard for our brain to differentiate that, which I don't love that that's a thing that we feel. Like, I hate that when maybe I'm rushing because I left the house a little bit later than I wanted to and I'm like running to work. Like, it's not an emergency though. Like, nobody's life, at least in my field of work, is on the line if I am not there at the exact same time that I like to be every single day. While it would be nice, it's like my nervous system goes into overdrive and it's not a great thing. But anyway, that's all to say, take some time to slow down. Take some time to rest for yourself today and each day, because self-care is so important, and stress on your body is like one of the leading causes of sickness and issues in your actual physical health. Anyway, now that we got that out of the way, I wanted to talk about the topic of why do new things scare us, and kind of to tie into that, my new job recap. Of course, before we get into today's episode, please take whatever resonates with you and leave the rest out. As a friendly reminder, these are just my opinions, how I perceive things that I see around me in the environment and also online, things that I read. So, of course, my opinion may not be resonant with yours, and that is so okay. Just kindly leave it out, and hopefully, the next one will. As you guys know, I've been kind of updating you the past few episodes that I was starting a new job, and I took some time off last week, which was a great reset. Should have been longer, but that's okay. This week, or I guess this past week that you're listening to this episode, was my first official week of my new job. And while it wasn't in a new field of law, I'm still doing the same field of law. It was still a new law firm. It was new people that I'm kind of working alongside. Thankfully, I did transition to this firm with one of my lawyers who is now a partner, which is great. And so, of course, I'm familiar with her, but it's still a new experience. And I was reflecting a lot, as I usually do, about literally everything, since starting something new in any area can be scary and intimidating. And I wanted to discuss this with you guys, and of course, some of the reasons why I think new things scare us, and perhaps a shift that we can carry with us as we move forward in any new endeavor that we take on in our lives. So I think it's pretty obvious that new things are scary for similar reasons as to why humans dislike change. And we've talked about change. We have an episode about why change is scary, why we don't like change, why it's not a comfortable feeling for humans. But we, I think, all can understand that we're wired for survival, and new things are hard to, one, anticipate outcomes, and two, a loss of control that we all crave is taken away as we try new things because, like I said, we cannot anticipate what an outcome will be. Not that we can really in any area, but if you're used to doing something repetitively, you kind of know what is to be expected. But if you take that element out of it, your brain doesn't really understand what is going to happen, and then it creates a bit of chaos in your mind. It creates that conflict. It creates you to actually pause, and you're like, uh-oh, what is this? I'm unfamiliar. I don't understand. I'm nervous or scared. There are some social or psychological fears that play into factor when we try new things because there is that element of fear of failure, I think. I think that sometimes it can overwhelm our psyche and it can sometimes feel all consuming to the point where we maybe don't want to embrace new things because staying in that comfort zone feels a lot better. And when I was researching a few of the reasons why new things scare us, I came across this interesting brain survival instinct that's present. I'll be candid with you, AI kind of helped me with this one, so I hope that the sources that they picked it from were quite accurate. And of course, I looked into a few sites myself, but I did resonate with this specific point that AI said, so I was like, okay, I do want to share it with you. But familiar habits are low energy because it requires less brain power to think about your familiar tasks, which I think makes so much sense. And like I said earlier, one of the reasons why is the survival instinct of you understand what the outcome will be in things that are familiar to you that you don't actually need to think about. And while I have said before that I like the idea of having your brain on autopilot, I don't necessarily agree with that anymore. I think it was mainly, I do believe I kind of explained why I liked this before, where it was more coming from an anxiety point of I can allow myself more space then to do other things. But if you are in autopilot doing the same thing over and over again, you're not necessarily using a lot of your brain power to think, which isn't always the best thing because we need to use our brains to think. It actually helps. Well, I'm not a doctor in any way, but I do think it helps us as we age, especially by using critical thinking skills, using different parts of our brain to gather information to do things. It actually helps with like memory. It probably helps with a bit of dementia from, my understanding based on things I've read. But new things, for example, such as starting a new role in a company, can be energy consuming because you're focused to think in a different way. You're learning different processes in how the company works. You're learning different computer softwares, programs, policies, like literally you name it. And taking this week, for example, with me, I've been exhausted. And I didn't necessarily think about the fact that it's due to this new role. But it makes so much sense because every single day I'm going into this new office, I'm learning something new about how they function in the firm, which is different than what I was used to the past over 2 years. And of course, I know slowly but surely I'll get into the groove, and I have been getting into my groove, but it's taken time this week. And it's been nerve wracking at the exact same time. And I think that's so okay. And for me, like, while I know this journey is meant for me because it probably wouldn't have been presented to me if it weren't meant for me, it is still scary to meet many new people, to try to remember names, to learn these new softwares and programs that are unfamiliar to me. And at the exact same time, like, get work done and then be patient with myself in the process. So if you are feeling a similar way, I feel you. I'm in the same boat. I hope that you know that you're not alone in that feeling. And, trying new things or starting new experiences can be incredibly intimidating, as it's a different feeling to enter into a space where you feel as though everyone knows what they're doing, or you're feeling like an outsider in some type of way. But I want to remind you that with time, that feeling does dissipate, and I know that you know that. And the more time you spend learning and giving yourself grace along the process, it becomes a lot easier. I think starting small with new change is a good way to ease into the process. I wanted to propose this because I feel like it helps me in a lot of different scenarios. So if you know you're starting a new job in a few weeks, or you're coming into a new change, whether you're moving or you're doing something different in your life, perhaps incorporating something new in your routine, giving yourself a few new tasks to try leading up to this big change, changing your habitual routine, switching up the order of it, or again, incorporating something new. Perhaps it could help kind of ease yourself into a transition of change, because you could see how your body and your brain reacts to these other small changes. And while, of course, I understand, and we talked about this, that we can't anticipate exactly how something will play out in its entirety. Like, we don't know what an outcome will be regardless if we're prepped for it. It may calm your mind just to know that you're able to switch things up, and that your mind doesn't need to be consumed with fear the entire time. And as someone, again, I've said this a zillion times, who loves routine, I love my schedule, I thrive on it. Sometimes it's good to switch it up for your brain to realize, oh, I was still able to get every single thing done on my list, yet I didn't do it in the way that I had wanted to. Or I switched things up. I did something different first. Or I did get to experience this new thing, but I was still able to complete a task that I wanted to complete, or this goal that I wanted to achieve. But maybe giving yourself that switch up routine and just allowing yourself to figure it out along the way is a good reminder for your brain that you can get through it, that you can overcome whatever this, fear blocking state you're in is. I just think overall, we as humans fear new things because it does force us out of our comfort zone, which we understand is not the most comfortable feeling. And while for me personally, this past week, I have been feeling out of place, I do know that most adventures that bring change require some uncomfortable feelings in order for growth to even happen. So if you're in a similar spot, I want you to be gentle with yourself. I want you to know that things that are worth trying sometimes require a bit of patience and time. Actually, all of the time require patience and time. Everything new that you're experiencing is meant for you and worth the time to try it and to experience in that moment. New experiences allow you to gain new perspectives and change, to learn and expand your horizon, because we know that growth is essential for life. And so I hope that as we're entering different phases of our lives, as we're embarking on new journeys, that we just start to embrace it more with open arms and to know that everything will work out exactly how it's meant to. That is kind of what I have for you today on the topic of why new things scare us. A lot of psychological aspects in there, but again, with time, with grace, with understanding and patience, I think we can overcome all of this, experience new things, learn new things along the way, gain a new perspective, embrace that knowledge that you are, learning a new topic that you may not know anything about, but now you'll have a better understanding moving forward. And that's what we want in the world. At least that's what I want for myself and for you. I wanted to leave you before we do our little outro. I just wanted to talk about some positive things about my new job, because I think there's always positive points that we can take from any new experience, and I wanted to share a few of mine. A lot of them are simple, but again, helps me with this transition process. So I hope that as you're embracing something new in your life, that you can pick out the different points that make you grateful, different positive moments in this time of change. Some cool new things about my new job is that they have snacks, and while this may not be a crazy thing, my previous firm had snacks, and honestly, it was amazing. Like, I do pack myself a big lunch, but I'm such a snacker, and sometimes I eat all my food and I'm starving again. So it's nice that they have snacks, and I love it. Of course, there's really nice people, new people. Everyone was so excited to like pass my desk and see I have a little whiteboard that I write like affirmations on, and I change it up weekly just because daily, takes a lot of time and sometimes I forget. And so I had like a little like happy to be part of the team, like wishing you all a great week, and everyone honestly took it so positively as they walked by. So I'm excited for that. The people have been super duper kind. Some other new things that are cool is like new learning opportunities where I can focus on different tasks. And while, like I said, I'm in the same field of work, I was doing different type of tasks at my previous firm. So the fact that I get to switch it up again and it's a little bit different each time, I think is a really great thing. I have a new desk set up, which I absolutely love. I love decorating. And of course, the colors at my desk are different. My design that I have is different. And so it's been really fun to kind of like create a space that feels comfortable for me and also brings in aspects of my personality that other people get to see. There's a new gym, which means there's new equipment. The gym in the building is actually very impressive and has a lot of different machines. It is busier. However, there's different machines, different orders of things I can do workouts in, and I think that's cool to kind of switch it up. And I'm excited that they still, that this building even has a gym that I can work out in, which is great. I get to take a new route to work, which has been kind of fun, and eventually I'll get used to the same walking up the same hill every single day, but it's nice to switch up that, route to work. I think that it allows me to get into a different mindset as I'm walking, and I get to see different things along my walk, and so I think it's a very good thing. And the last thing that I have for you is a new change of routine, which is a positive thing. As we know, switching it up a bit is very beneficial for our brains, for our well-being, just for our learning and growth opportunities. So that's been very positive. And as always, I appreciate you guys for listening to today's episode. I hope that you were able to take something from it. I hope that you're feeling a bit more comfort going into a new experience, to know that you're not alone in it, to know that I'm sending you all of the positive vibes, to know that you are going to experience something that's absolutely meant for you. And I think that is a very incredible thing. I hope that your week is filled with endless opportunities of joy and love and light. Of course, I'm sending all the incredible energy to you, so I hope that you feel it. And I'm looking forward to spending some time with you next Monday. But until then, I will miss you. Goodbye.